Tertúlia.
Meu boa tarde para todos e todas.
Good afternoon,
Hoje é dia
everyone.
13 de março de 2011.
Today is Sunday, March
O verbete é o
13.
1867.
The entry is 1867. 4 pages, 4 ologies, 18 maxima. I call your attention to detailism, which has 12 maxima. The topic is option for correctness with the subfield optionology. Definition. The option for correctness is the self-positioning of the lucid introphysical consciousness from the cosmolinear self-thousonization in all personal manifestations at any evolutionary moment or existential dimension, declared and made explicit by the attitude or posture considered homeostatic, cosmoethical, or ideal in favor of the best for all the consciousnesses in the cosmos. The qualification of options, the uninterrupted evolutionary options, the option for megafraternity, the option for making the best for everybody happen. In referentiology, among 15, I point out 5 entries: prioritary self-thought, self-experience of the evolutionary priorities, ranking of evolutionary priorities, meta-optata, and prioritary theories. Emphatic phrase. The option for correctness makes up an intelligent set of habits and rational, logical, technical, evolutionary, cosmoethical, ideal, and maximum personal reactions, shaping the destiny of the lucid introphysical consciousness. Have you, reader, been living under the primacy of the option for correctness? Since when? I would like to tell you that it involves the cosmolinear orientation, the general homeostasis, the rightness in everything, the quest for the right, the defense of the adequate, the pursuit of clarity, the search for the best, the ideal sustainability, the maintenance of the self-lucidity, the relevance of the priority, the desire of the cosmoethics, and the quest of self-evolution. Now, the Tertulians. My aunt was subject to a surgery, to a bariatric surgery in Belém do Pará some months ago. According to her, my mother, who was in Recife, appeared in the room where she was. According to the time my aunt referred to, my mother wasn't sleeping, therefore not projected. Could you explain what happened? It means that it was an oniric hallucination, it was an aneurysm. It is a matter of semi-awareness. Next, could you elaborate on the possible paragenetic causes of hypopituitarism, specifically concerning the insufficiency of the production of FSH brought about by a certain hypothalamic failure? Does it play a role in the parapsíquism? Yes, of course. All the hormone processes influence in the manifestation of the consciousnesses, therefore in the parapsíquism. Everything has to do with the paragenetics and the genetics of the person. We have to see how it is expressing itself in the person's case. Do you know any phosphatidylserine? It's the name of a substance which is a nutritional supplement derived from soya beans. It renews the brain cells that grew old and it enhances the mental performance, acting in the reflex, in the energy, concentration, and so on. It's indicated for the elderly and professionals and students interested in enhancing their mental capacity. To what extent such supplements or drugs could be helpful and influencing the parapsíquism? We have to study, because one thing is to use this nutritional supplement, which is artificial. The other thing is to eat something that could replace that. For example, I don't use this drug, this substance. On the other hand, I've been eating tofu for several years. I am a Chinese man that estimated here. In terms of taste, I like the Chinese food more than any other. So I eat tofu every week. That's why the restaurant I've been going to more often than not is the China restaurant here. So when I go there, I usually eat this tofu with ground meat without spiceless, because I have a stomach process, or tofu with legumes and so on. And tofu is at the basis of this diet. Now next, you talked about the baiting of people close to the extraphysical consciousness that you are assisting to. Does it also happen online? Yes, it does, because people are assisted in China, Australia. It depends on their case. If the person deserves it, it's not up to us. It depends on the person. How is your extraphysical knowing, I mean, your extraphysical background, how do you deal with that after each Tertúlia? Well, it depends. Now, here, right now, everything that I do is like this. So I de-assimilate. I don't take such things back home. So this sympathetic de-assimilation, that's what I do after such things. I am a specialist in this subject with myself. So how do you classify the evolutionary level of Indians? Who is more evolved? A vulgar, urban, extraphysical consciousness that was reurbanized here, or an Indian living in the Amazon? Of course, the reurbanized consciousness. I think that people give just too much value to the Indians, and excessively. Now, another one. I have studied everything I see about Conscienciology on the internet, and it has helped me a lot. Nevertheless, I can't install the vibrational state, and when I try to perform Penta, I don't feel a certain level of energy to exercise. Is it a matter of a low energetic level, or how could I enhance it? Yes, you will enhance it. You're just a rookie. You have to insist. You don't give up, and things will improve with the course of time. Now, your extraphysical clinic has helped extraphysical consciousnesses coming from the tsunami in Japan? No. And if yes, could you explain or describe the kind of assistance that has been performed, or something that happened in the complementarian courses? Let's see if later on people can comment on this. So now another question. Have you ever made any studies on the inventor Nikola Tesla? Yes. And I even use some of his expressions, some phrases like, for example, the voltaic arc, the cranial charcoal voltaic arc. Now another one. Professor, which kind of literature does Conscienciology have on sexosomatics? Well, it's good for you to take a look at the encyclopedia as a whole and see what it has about sex. You'll see lots of things, mainly on sexochakra and other things. But there are several topics in my books as well. Now, another thing. A 13-year-old studies many things in Argentina, and he studies mathematics, astronomy and physics, and he wants to study engineering, physics and mathematics, deep mathematics. And he is a gifted one, of course, 13 years old. It's the first one of this case in Argentina. Now, I would like to tell you about the first symposium on direct democracy. It will take place from 3 to 5 June in Discernimentum. There will have lots of lectures, important lectures. Juarez will appear, Dr. Juarez, Professor Lênio Lodge, Professor Nara Oliveira, and several others. So it's worthwhile taking a look at it. First International Symposium, 3 to 5
Estou aqui com o jornal da Cognosciência, está acabando de sair.
of July. Now I have the Journal of Periodic of Cognopolis, and it talks about the IAC's second Global Award for Scientific Contributions to Conscienciology. So it's very interesting. Those who would like to take a look, it's here. Another thing, tonight at 8 p.m., Henry Fonda, 12 Angry Men will be the movie to be displayed tonight, and it's a movie for the cerebral ones. Those who don't have brains shouldn't go there. And thank you, Waldo. Yes, it will take place at 8:30. But it's better to be there at 8, so you can see the environment, you can see where you're going to see, you can see all the details. With the course of time, you're going to use my techniques of a movie manager. So when I was 10, I used to do that. So, for example, banner. I used to do that. So these banners with the movie title used to be there. Used to be displayed right in front of the movie theaters. So I would like to remind you that in Holotheca there are several collections of banners and movie theater banners. But now, those who have never seen this movie should do it, because this is a classic one. Now, who would like to ask anything about the correction? I would like to tell you that talking about correction here in neologism, there is a mistake that we have already corrected, and I think that's the only one we've had. Maybe I am going to add a fifth item in synonymology, which is the cognition of clarity, because it's the clarity the person should have. Professor, on your right, could you read again the initial list you read out? Yes, the list you read out in the very beginning of the Tertúlia. There we go. Yes, it had the correctness as the main topic. Now, correctness, cosmolinear orientation, general homeostasis, rightness in everything, quest for the right, defense of the adequate, pursuit of clarity, search for the best, ideal sustainability, maintenance of self-lucidity, relevance of the prioritary, desire the cosmoethics, and the quest of self-evolution. We have 13 items. I have been talking about this to emphasize the didactics of the process. And everything is in the text. If the person reads it up, will be able to point them out. When I talk about this in the definition, I talk about the cosmolinear self-lucidization, homeostasis, cosmoethics, everything in the definition. Check the details and you will see, and then I talk about the adequate right, the right and self-lucidity. Everything is within the context of the within the text of this entry. So I think that everybody is leaving the correctness after the meta optata. I think this is the logical consequence. So if you are taking up the metta pitata, you are all choosing the correct.
A pessoa decidofóbica.
Go on. The decidophobic person
duas opções, né? Ela decidir, e ela sabe muito bem, claro,
choose between two options, and the person doesn't know what's right and what's not. What could help the person solve that problem? Because the person sometimes is able to defer, to distinguish what's good and what's not. Well, the person should never forget what's the priority. These 13 things I've just pointed out. If the person takes them into consideration, the person will always have a better, will make a better choice. But it has to be part of the euthanaization of the person. The person has to be attentive, has to have data, has to aim that. Yes, because, Professor, sometimes I see people who know what's good and what's not, but they can't really choose. What you can say, for example, to the person is to observe what happens to them when they are just too excited with something. For example, you are in a happening or in a pub or something. I could even be in such places, but I am encapsulated. I will never just follow these extraneous waves, these adventitious waves. They come from outside. They are alien. Our matter here is to be aware of the clarification, of the clarity. Clarification is discernment, is the clarification task. That person, Professor, that takes years to make up his mind. Well, this person is an animal or a plant or a rubber that is shaped according to the circumstances. Sometimes it could be due to unattentiveness or intraphysical melancholia. Our matter here is to be attentive to the priority, to the relevant, to the ideal. But everything we do here, our goal is the same. This entry is a synthesis of everything that we try to do here. And it will be inevitable to go forward, go towards intersubstantiality, evolution, parapsychism. It's the cosmoethical process. There's no way out. So the person can even beat around the bush, but the person will end up dealing with cosmoethics, the priority, and the parapsychism. And the person will be able to see that he's not an animal nor a plant. The person has improved a little bit. The person has already been a plant or an animal, but now you don't have to be anymore. Who else wants to be a plant? But it's a matter of free will. Professor, in this case, the probability level increases a lot. Yes, when the person, the more lucid the person is, the more help the person has, more efficient. The person has to be lucid. Everything here is a matter of keeping lucidity. Don't you think, Adele? Yes, of course, because the person will be connected even more with the helper. Now, a consequence of this is when the person achieves 50%, not 100%, because it takes time. 50%. The platitudes will decrease. So, for example, stress problems will decrease too. So the person will be able to see the silly things. Instead of being absorbed by the drama of a movie, for example, the person will be able to be equidistant, that a lack of disturbance in the person's socialization. So it has to do with this. But and you don't have to be this 13-year-old gifted boy. Anyone is able to get there. You will see that maybe this boy will be a genius, but without priority. Because, you know, giftedness, to be a gifted one, is a big problem. It's the case of lots of you here. Versatility, polyvalence, and an attentiveness. When you are not pressed in a hurry or hasty, and impulsiveness, precipitation, and attentiveness, these are all things that could come up. Professor, I have been thinking about it. I paid attention to referentiology, and you have pointed out some of them related to priority. And my question is, we have to give priority to making the right choice to have such attitudes in the daily life. But what do we have to be aware of in order to do that? Hyperacuity, mega focus, self-overcoming. So, for example, there is a part of my attention that's always awakened. My sleepiness, or hypnagogy, or hypnagogy. I can master that. Sometimes it's just a consequence of what we're doing. Even when my soma is demanding sleep, my mind is not, so I continue thinking about the problems. All the people that follow this option for correctness will be able to enhance the craziness of their onirism and the hallucinations, oniric hallucinations, so on. They will decrease. For example, what happened to that lady first. But, Professor, when I read the entry's title, I thought, I don't even have patience to revise a text. In the first time I have, in the second I do, but in the third I don't. So we have to tell Sandra to do something at home.
Não, o que é isso?
Eu já falo, uma coisa que eu sei que ela não sabe, que ela vai perguntar, porque tudo ela pergunta. Rádio de tatu é chicote.
Yeah, so Sandra will maybe have to use the...
Mas eu admito isso, eu não tenho paciência para fazer muita revisão.
He will have to take care of you at home. But Professor Waldo, what happens is that I don't have any patience to revise my texts at home. Yes, the ones that demand a lot of you, you don't have patience. There's something wrong inside yourself. Why does it happen with your revision? Because I don't like to make too much effort for the results. Yes, you have to take a shower to wake up. I am not patient. I'm not patient to that. So how could I be patient to make an option for the correctness? Yes, but I think that you have decreased 10% of it lately. When she used to coordinate the Tertuliarians, she was worse. She used to interfere with the work, and She used to be a little bit impulsive. Now she's a little bit better. She's improved a bit. Now, let's see. The next question. The catastrophe that took place in Japan is due to the reurbanization. No, that's an area, the fire circle in the Pacific Sea. They know that. And Japan is like that. There will be many more in the future. There is a friend of us who said when I was in Japan, you are so familiar with our atmosphere here, don't you want to stay in Japan here for your researches? And I said, no, not at all. Nagasaki, Hiroshima, these places, I didn't want to go there because there are many problems. There was a leak in the nuclear power station. And I said that back then. I told them, you have to run away from that. You know about atomic bombs. And you already have a natural atomic bomb here. And I used to stay in the Imperial Hotel. And there was a Brazilian there who helped them with the architecture because this building is able to absorb earthquakes. So I used to stay in the Imperial because it used to be the best hotel back then. And I used to tell them about that. The hotel had 14 restaurants. Do you understand very well? 14 restaurants. In the 60s. It was crazy. And since I didn't have much time back then, just afterwards when I recovered my things, but it was a problem because there was this group coming from China and they sponsored a banquet for us, and we had to retribute that in a different restaurant, and we had to pay that, and they were more expensive, so it was very fun. But that was the first time I saw in a restaurant where there was this 3-meter steel board that used to be heated up to serve barbecue. It was the grill, and there was a time when it rained and all the area was over flooded, and this grill, this steel grill was over flooded, and it happened. All that in Tokyo, one of the most expensive restaurants, because these barbecue facilities were very expensive back then, and we were always with Americans and personalities and so on. And I have already told you that, but the first time I went to Tokyo, the biggest shock I have wasn't that. We went to a restaurant, and a friend of mine in Japan said it's trendy now, and it is called Copacabana. And then we went there, and then I wanted to go to the bathroom, and it was written homens and mulheres, ladies and gentlemen in Portuguese. And when you entered, at the end of the corridor, it was just the same bathroom. Just the answers were different, and then it was a shock for me because I thought, well, I have to study this culture. It's crazy. And yeah, there are lots of weird things there. And after a while, there was this at night in Tokyo. And everybody had to go, and I was with the Americans and so on. And it was a big restaurant, one of the biggest ones there. It was in the outside in the Imperial Hotel in the city itself. And when we were there were lots of women coming up, and They were all elegant and with makeups and so on, just like geishas. And one of them just asked me, how many do you want in this table? And she meant, how many women do you want to have in this table? But it's a matter of culture. You see, it was normal, ordinary. And you had to see the women they have there. But lots and lots of them.
Japonês às vezes parece pra gente, a gente olhando, parece tudo igual.
You know, sometimes Japanese for us seem all alike, but when the women dress up, there is this generalized beauty. It was my first night in Tokyo, and it was like this. How many women do you want to have in this room? And I asked her, do you have an army on them?
Agora aqui, em teoriologia, página 13, poderia comentar a teoria da Invexis?
Could you comment about the Invexis theory? Is there someone from the Invexis here? Do you want to explain this person?
Seria bom vocês, é o jovem que tem que falar.
Yeah, young people must talk about this. He's going to tell you.
Está funcionando, né? Então, em relação à teoria da Invexis,
related to the Invexis theory, I don't know if this person knows the Invexis technique. We have some courses in Invexis. You can go to www.asinvexis.org. This afternoon we are going to have a lecture. You can participate in order to get more information about that. There is also a book that has been just released. Can you show the book?
No mês passado a gente teve um
Yeah,
lançamento
we
desse
had
livro, com 5 autores.
last month
Então é um livro em coautoria muito amplo,
the
ele é bem
release of
abrangente,
this
bem profundo a
book,
respeito da
and
técnica
it's very
da
good,
inversão
and
existencial.
it's about this technique.
Em relação aqui à relação da Invexis com o verbete, eu vejo que
So
a
the
teoria da
relation
Invexis em si
between
é uma
the
opção
relaxes
pela
and the
correção,
entry
do
is
jovem
that
pessoa na fase da
inversion
juventude.
is the option for the correctness.
Opção pela correção.
Yes, that's true.
Começar desde cedo,
So you start from the beginning.
antecipadamente.
You anticipate
Ora,
things.
hoje, nos plantões noturnos,
So
quando há
in
tempo para
the night,
ocorrem fatos que identificam
duties,
serem projeções e
I
percebem
perceive
que
some
olham
facts
lucidez.
that are related to
Recentemente, aqui com a Conscienciologia
projections.
feminina, me orientando
There was
quanto à publicação e
female
passagem através de
extra-physical
paredes dentro do local de
consciousness,
trabalho.
and
Apesar do
this
plantão,
extra-physical
simples
were,
energia
was
renovada
helping me.
após tais projeções.
How can I
Maneira de
get
melhorar a lucidez e prolongar a hora da projeção assistencial,
wide
pois tem a intenção
lucidity
de chegar
during
ao ponto
the
em que a memória é
projections?
interrompida. Seria bom você ler meu livro
It would be good for you to read the Projectiology. It was written in order to solve those issues. Take a look to this book.
O senhor conhece
Another one.
cidades extrafísicas
Do
de
you know
culturas
extra-physical
indígenas,
city
islâmicas,
which
que
are
são
related
elas?
to the Jewish and Islamic cultures? Do people that go to these extra-physical cities, they change because they realize there is a resummation? No. They have extra-physical community from the pan-Jewish Judaism. So they don't perceive anything. They are involved in all that process. I've seen all of those things. They just think about the Jewish process. You know that in terms of culture, the culture which is the oldest culture is the pan-Judaism. So the person gets brainwashed. So it's a religion brainwashing. It takes more than 5 millennia. So they reborn again and again, and they don't change. So these extra-physical communities, they are all dogmatics, and they have a very serious situation. I haven't seen anyone which was different. They all have the star of the V as a main point. Well, another question, I'm experiencing a process of anxiety very strong. I've been thinking about this process, but I feel myself very fragile at this moment. What do you think? Will I get over this situation? You have to be confident. Whatever you look for, you are going to find. Insist and organize your life. Try to disciplinate your thoughts. You have to put your vicinity in a straight line. So you are going to get over all this situation. It's all a matter of maturity. What is the correct thought we must have when facing these tragedies that are going on? It's just a matter of having a positive vicinity. And how about the opportunism of the media related to this subject? Oh, everything is foolish. Media has a lot of foolish things. I hope someday we are going to have a cosmoetic media. They don't even discuss the moral process. Another, numerology, page 13, second line, the mega options, paraperceptive mega options. What are the main ones to obtain success related to parapsychism, development of parapsychism? It's good for you to participate of the parapsychism dynamics, go to the complementarian, and we have courses related to that, and so on. But something really good to be done beyond the vibrational state is the assimilation. It's something really important. The voltaic arc is another option. And another thing is to work with your energies in silence and reach to get to the mega euphorization condition. So this is your challenge. This is the way. Professor, you have just mentioned about the free will. I'd like to know about the consciousness when they reborn. All these people, all these people has the right of this free will. You know, free will is something according to the merit of the person. More you help others, more you have free will. You are going to increase your free will by helping others. So not everyone has this condition. You know, most of the people are vegetables. And most of the people, the subbrain dominates people who are in the robexes. All right, this is the way.
Mas então, o senhor falou no início que o senhor não entra nas ondas adventistas.
About before that you don't get into the adventitious ways. You get sheltered. Yes, if you have the capacity, you have the ability for encapsulate yourself, it's better for you. I am able to write something really important among a crowd. Once I was in a nightclub and I did that. I was in a situation that I had to take people to a nightclub. And at the same time I had the task of writing something. And, you know, at the same time that I was with them in that nightclub, I was writing about the subject. And people who were coming from United States, they were like, I haven't seen this before, they told me. Within a pub, there was a British guy with us. So, are you going to write a book in the bar? Yes, it's possible. And, you know, all the Brazilian songs are written in bars. Oh, I just have seen someone, Everton. He got out? Oh, really? Everton, the tomb of Ever. Could you take the computer and make 2 copies of a very serious thing that I've been working with since yesterday? I wrote a mega glossary of 15-syllable words. I have more than 300. If you could you make at least 3 copies for me? All those mini glossaries we are not going to bring to this place. We are going to put in the encyclopedia straightly. Okay? Is Ami here? I want to give her a copy of the mini definitions. So those are the easiest to be done. You just have to translate a word. The biggest word that we have there is Conscienciometrology. It has 15 syllables. We have those words with between 10 and 15 syllables. And it's all organized according to the letters. So this entry has a red 13 pages. So you have more things to be worked, to be analyzed in this entry. You know, I just put the words, you know, as a glossary. So this is going to amplify the range of understanding of, mainly of those who are writing the entries. So I've been writing all those things for a long time. It's not easy. Just, you know, big words. And everything he has its own reasons. It's nice when you put in order. For example, 10 syllables. 10, we have the letters A, B, C, D. With 10 syllables. And after that you have 11 syllables, A, B, C, D, and that's the way I did. So people are going to think that I'm crazy. I am a crazy lexicologist. You know, a crazy lexicologist. It's worthwhile. You know, most of these words are not in the dictionaries so far. But there are some entries that there is no way out. We have to show all the things. This one that I talk about, parasomatic condition, we have all those words.
Todas eu tenho que escrever 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 palavras para expor uma só.
So sometimes I have to write, you know, 7 different words to explain one word. It's a paradoxal synthesis.
É a síntese paradoxal. Você está entendendo?
Do you understand? So we have a long word
para uma síntese paradoxal.
A long word or a big word for a small synthesis.
É o que eu falo.
That's what I do.
Agora, gente, Tudo é um processo de elaboração de pensamento.
But all is related to a process of
o negócio é a gente pensar mais. O mental soma está aí.
Thoughts elaboration. The mental soma is right there.
De imposto para mental soma.
We don't have to pay taxes for the mental soma. We don't
liberdade total.
have anyone
já alcançou o mental soma há muito tempo. O povo não sabe disso.
Anyone who is controlling the mental soma.
A instrução de uso, né? Agora, com esse vadimeco, a gente vai dessomar sem o vadimeco, né?
Você agora tem que dessomar com honra, com elegância.
We have to decimate with elegance in a high level of dignity.
Na cara, e depois vai seguir seu manual, que já está lá.
And after that, we have a manual for doing that.
Com dignidade.
So, to die with dignity. Professor here.
Olha quem está aí, agora que eu vi que você que
you are there.
Você chegou?
Cheguei.
Agora, recente.
Did you get here recently? Yesterday.
Chegou? É isso?
George, was it yesterday?
Professor Waldo, queria
Professor,
I'd like sobre a técnica da autodecisão.
I'd like to know about the self-decision technique.
O processo é o seguinte.
The process is the following. The self-decision demands this exists in the person's life all the time.
A vida nada mais é
Life is
decisão contínua.
A continuous decision. We have to decide all the time what we're going to do.
Porque nós somos individualizados.
Why? Because we are individualized.
Por exemplo, o Jorge não pode fazer certas coisas. Você não pode fazer para o Jorge.
George cannot do certain things for you, and então, veja, the opposite is true. So this decision, this decision doesn't escape from you. It's something related to you. So it have to be studied, and you have to verify everything that is related to this question. So from this, you have from this condition of continuous decision is the adequate decision, the cosmoetic decision, all the time.
Então, por exemplo, você já pensou, você olha assim e fala assim, hoje é domingo.
For example, you think about, you know, the day, today is Sunday, and you look backwards to your week and you analyze if you made any mistake. And then you analyze your mistakes. You have to correct them. So the reference for identify this mistake is the megafocus. Is that way? Yes. Yes. Someone asked me about megafocus. The person wanted me to give him a solution for his problems, and I told this person to make a list of all things that would be uninterrupted in this life or continuous. And then I told the guy, you breathe continuously, you think continuously. And I almost told the guy, you say foolish things continuously, but I controlled myself. I avoided doing that. So I asked him to make the enumeration of everything that was continuous in this life. Most of the people don't think and don't remember about this, but we have continuous decisions all the time. For example, you are sitting here, and by the time that you have to stand up, you have to take a decision. So there are continuous decisions all the time. That's the beginning of everything, and then I tell you, do yourself your list. You can start by doing that. You breathe continuously, but you can tell George, for example, I love you. It's not hard for me.
Então o processo todo é esse.
So that's the process. You have to analyze what is uninterrupted things.
Eu amo vocês.
I love you all in a continuous way.
Vocês estão perdoados até o ano 3000.
And you are forgiven until the year of 3000.
Estão perdoados até o ano 3000.
Valdo.
Aqui no deu.
Here, letter D. Related to megafocus.
Para aprender a lidar com megafoco,
in order to deal with megafocus, the person can, for example, use a project and keep the focus in that project, but megafocus is, for example, evolution in a broad way. Yeah, the ideal megafocus is just one. But the other megafocus are of the day. You have a professional one, you have a megafocus when you come here to CEAEC, but the basic one, this is the serious one. This one must be maintained. So I was thinking about that some days ago. If the person identifies the macro megafocus, yeah, I identified my megafocus when I was 14, but, you know, there are changes in the world, tsunamis and hurricanes, and I am fear. In the same megafocus. For example, the volunteering is one of the megafocus. So this is, we have a traditional one here, which is the existential balance from Apex. Another thing is conscious, the guinea pig consciousness. But in terms of, in a practical way, the volunteering, when the person fixates some aims, is this a technique for the person? Yes, the person must analyze if he or she is giving all the potentiality that she or he has. So this person has to analyze if there is something that could be refined. You know, we still have butterfly finders. Sometimes we have someone with 12 different tasks here. So this person has not defined what to do so far. So this condition of having a macro megafocus is possible. Yes, the person has to analyze that. The idea is that when the person can transform or can turn this megafocus in strong traits. So the intermissive course and Conscienciology is the base of my life. Everything that I have been done in this life is related to that. And how could you identify between those things? The hard part was the chronemics. I had to wait for generations, and I started doing the extra jobs, and I started studying more and travel more. So I had those supplements. What is the relation between megafocus and mega-wake traits? I started to analyze Conscienciology in my life. How can I give example of this? And then I create a theme for me to sweat blood. So, sweat blood is not so easy. So I started to use this word, which is self-effort. When this person gets into this evolutionary intelligence megafocus, is the tendency of this person is to amplify the self-confidence, the anti-conflictivity decreases.
Se eu poderia esclarecer a relação do verbete hoje com o verbete meta-optata? Não, seria bom você comparar com o outro. Pega e põe na
Could you make a relation between meta-optata and today's entry? Well, you have to compare both of them yourself. Do you have it here? Check the definition of meta-optata.
Olha a definição.
Yeah, check the definition.
Locução latina
the meta-optata, Latin phrase used to indicate the end reached by the criminal, meaning the desired outcome or the end culminated with the consummation of the act, is employed here in a positive, cosmoethical, and evolutionary new meaning when the immature consciousnesses or ex-offenders, intermissivists today, both men and women, now ask for new high-level interassistentional objectives, proceeding at the same time with the rescue of the comfort, that is, the form of the manifestation as well as the content of the corresponding actions. So you see, everything to do, the relation with the option for correctness is exactly this. It's the ex-offender, that is you in the past. You are no longer offender, so it's your retro you, your retro egos. So the difference is enormous. But now we have to give value to the option for correctness. Now, do you agree that it's not easy to look for two patterns of lucidity? That is, the lucidity of the absolute need for the clarification task, will, and experience of parapsychism, existentiality, and cosmetics, and the lucidity of our own evolutionary process. Yes, it's the obvious. I don't see any novelty here, but see, everything is doable, workable, possible, feasible. It depends on your will, your dedication, and the efforts you make. What happens with the consciousnesses that make a choice for the cryogenics when they get to the extraphysical dimension? I have never seen any, but I guess they are frustrated, because if the person has already made this kind of choice, it means that they had so many big, silly things that they will have an extraphysical melancholy. I don't desire that condition to anyone, but it's all possible. Could you elaborate on the correlation existent in the comorbidities, anxiety, stress, and depression? In the anxiety, the person is anxious, and if the person is anxious, the tendency is to be stressed. But if the stress increases, it could give place to a depressive state. It is a crescendum trinomial. Now, I would like to understand better some phrases used in the entry. Synergismology, page 12. The synergism, para-brain-brain in the homeostatic Philosophere. It means when there is an environment, an atmosphere, the environment where the person is, the holothucene as I call it, when it's calm, tranquil, balanced, that is homeostatic, it creates what we call the phenosphere, the sphere of the person's thulcine, which is homeostatic. So it's a balanced place. Of course that there will have a synergism, a potentiation of the para-brain and the person's brain. The person will reason with more clarity, so the person has a more brilliant intelligence. That's what I try to do when I study at night, within my office, everything quiet, everything with this aim. And in my work, there are no deviations, no interferences. So it's the power-brain-brain synergism in the homeostatic holothosinosphere. In technology, page 13, the technique of circularity. We have already explained this situation. The technique of circularity is when you start repeating things with simple approximations. So it's a technique of the repetitive docility. You repeat things in a productive way to amplify and deepen the ideas and the clarification task. This is the circularity technique. It is like a spiral, an evolutionary spiral that opens up as it goes up. So this is the circularity technique. Sometimes people don't understand why there are so many repetitive things in my writings, but it's this technique, masculinology, feminology. These things are all repetitive, but it's on purpose. If the person reads these, just this entry, they will be able to see what they are. Am I a praxist, a writer, a penta practitioner, a volunteer, and so on? So everything is inside this. Now, in binomiology, the reason para-experience binomial. The reason here is the reasoning process. It's a matter of being logical in what you think. And now para-experience is an experience based on extra-physical experiences or multidimensional experiences. You can't dissociate them, reason from our experience. So the idea is to keep your reasoning, even if you face transcendental phenomena that could even impact you at first. They're all part of your reasoning process, and you can never put aside the principle of disbelief, which is your experiment, your experience, everything you do, everything you read, everything you debate. So that's what the binomial means. I think it's all clarified, right? Professor Waldo, in the case of the conscience-centric company, the option for correctness would be the investment in people. Well, see, everything has a focus on people. Everything that you do, you're going to have a focus on the consciousness. The other things come afterwards. That's what cosmoethics is. That's what evolution is. That's what priority is. And even the principle of disbelief is that. First of all, you think about yourself, your ego. That's what's fun about life. Because people resort to others many times, more often than not. While their ego is sometimes as big as the building where they live in. But you see, it's a lack of priority. The person downplays himself in terms of ego. So the option for correctness is an option for conscienciology somehow. Well, from now on, in your future and so on, you will think more and more in focus. I started talking about that to João Aurélio when he came here. He said, I want to create a company, and I told him, Mega Focus, that's the name. So that's what the person needs. So the Mega Focus will help us from now on. Now, I am 16. I'm reading your book, Our Evolution. I would like you not to laugh, not to mock me, but I need a definition of what making assistance is. Making assistance is to kiss your little sister's forehead when she's sick, and you tell her, my kiss will help you out, my little sister. I'm just giving you an ordinary and romantic and domestic example, but making assistance is helping others in what the others need. So it's meeting somebody else's needs. And he proceeds, I don't understand what it is. According to what you say, it's clear that it's not only donating things and giving money. I want to start off in Conscienciology making assistance in a correct and ethical manner. It's a 16-year-old lady. You can help others with a good word, with saying what you think is good for the others. It's part of the glorification task. But what I think is good for you is to get in touch with Asynvexis. The Asynvexis team is around here or not? Maybe you could clarify, give your website or talk about your institution. If you are interested in participating in the group of existential inverters, you can access www.greenvex.org, or to get in touch with us, just to know more, you can send us an email at contato@asynvexis.org. I think that the Greenvex is an important option for those who are coming into Conscienciology for the first time, because it's a forum for debates, and there are people at her same age group, people 13-year-olds, 14, 15-year-olds, and early 20s. So there is this more horizontal relation, and it could help her a lot. Please, could you elaborate on the continuous decision in the context of the option for correctness within the mistakes and the things that got right? Well, with the course of time, the person will shape the course and make right choices and make many mistakes as a consequence, and the person will expand that for the other sectors and domains of the person's life, and it will spread to all the universe of manifestation of that person, and that person will see then that mistake that used to be very little will become a big one, because it's no longer an ordinary mistake, and it becomes an absurd. That's when the thing gets better. That was Arlindo's question. Why not having another existential balance during the year? I am sure that lots of people could be benefited, not to mention the extraphysical consciousnesses. The existential balance demands a very big structure. Even Professor Waldo suggested doing this in different places in different times of the year. We involve two campi, in this case, two campuses, and it involves consciential epicenters and so on. Well, you can do here, Lassi, again, to increase your know-how. We are in March. There are 9 months to come to light. In 9 months you can bring to light, you can deliver, can't you? Yeah, so now I had been in CEAEC for a week, and I would like to know your opinion on God and Jesus Christ. Are they evolved? Are they helpers? Well, even the most evolved helpers and the Serenissimuses aren't worried about such subjects. So it's not an important matter for us. Professor, page 13 in mythology, second line, the myth of the impossibility of the participative research. There are people who think that the participative research is impossible. That's what the traditional science states. So they say that all research being carried out can't involve a close contact with the subject of research. And it's silly, because when you think about your subject, your energy is already being a source of influence over that subject. So there is a participation either way. So the person has to think about that. There's no way to have participation without philosophic manifestations. And if you philosophize, you are interacting. Science don't understand that, because they put aside the consciousness. It's a mystery for us. For us, it's not that mystery. Professor, sometimes you talk about the generations, you have to wait till you start working and so on. When did you notice that? Oh, when I was in the Spiritism, I was in the Spiritism movement, and then I started having psychography messages. At 13-year-old, I was able to see that and so on, but I suffered a little bit, because to a certain extent, within 2-3 years, I had a pile of psychic messages, psychography messages, poems and novels and so on, and there was a message at a certain time, and the message was, gather all your papers. And now they said, now you burn everything. And then I wrote, do I have to burn everything without exception? I don't have to select anything? No. Burn everything. Just to show that that pile wasn't mine. That was the lesson I had. But of course, that back then I became a bit sad and jealous. There were sonnets, novels, that I wrote. Not that I wrote, that I received. There were entire sonnets and
Mas tinha gente até cópia disso, eu não sei se ficou depois, que era o alexandrino.
There were people with copies of one of them, the Alexandrine sonnet. But go on. But when did you understand about this time matter? Was it clear for you how long you would have to wait or not? Well, I started giving too much value to my psychography ability, because according to the environment I was and who was manifesting, I gave value to that, and I know that one of these communicating extra-physical consciousnesses helped me. I think it was him who helped me to develop my parapsychism, because I was able to expand my perceptions concerning the environment. But then I was able to give value to messages saying that as things go on, we'll have to wait a bit more, we'll have to wait 1 or 2 generations so that you can carry out your work. Till then, you can't waste time nor opportunities, you have to work anyway. And then there were messages with all the details and so on. But what's interesting is that sometimes, later on, when I grew up, when I was in the mid-30s, in the public sessions, there were people coming to the sessions, and they used to say the same things that the extra-physical consciousnesses gave me. So they were giving the same messages through a medium. And sometimes it was impressive because some phrases were just the same I had, and it happened in several places with different people. That's what's serious, critical. So I always thought that I was well assisted, and I really believed in that. And there was this friend of mine back in med school who said, "No, Waldo was too much introverted." And I was, yes. They used to waste too much time, and I couldn't waste time because I worked. They didn't work, and I had to. And among my friends, I was the only one who had to work. So see, study medicine and work with management, and I couldn't step out because I used to live inside, like a board school. And, but see, I don't regret anything. It was a very good experience. So, did you understand what it was all about, the generation gap? I think that I waited for 2 generations at least, and there were no way out, no ways out. But I can tell you that I really started working with this current work when I published the book Projectiology in '86, but I was born in '32. See, I was 54 years old. Not easy, so you see, 40 years that I had been waiting for that. Of course that I had been working for that. I wrote Projectiology. I also studied and wrote the Conscienciogram that took me even more time, because I wrote both simultaneously, Projectiology and Conscienciogram. But when I published Projectiology, I still had to carry on with the Conscienciogram book, which took me 22 years in total. So see, 22 years for a little 200-page book, and I worked 19 years with the other one that has over 1,000 pages. Professor, in technology, could you elaborate on the first technique, please? The circularity technique, that's the one I referred to, I talked about. But it wasn't very clear for me. You have to take the entry. And the fourth technique, and the fourth technique, 1, 2, 3, 4. The conscienciometric technique of identification of the socialization. It is to take the conscienciogram and try to identify what prevails in your manifestation, the average of your manifestations, of your philosophic manifestations. If you have any difficulties, you can ask those who are close to you, who live with you. You'll see who you are, what makes you busy, what you think of, what you are preoccupied with. But now, what's the relation with the matter-thought-scene? The relation of this with the matter-thought-scene. Oh, this is the acumen, the apex of the subject. If your self-strong trait is your matter-thought-scene or not. I have been looking for all these years, since I was 14. I've been looking for that for 64 years. I have been looking for this juxtaposition of my objective, my mega focus, my mega strong trait, and my matter-thought-scene. But see, I came to the conclusion that to keep this process, I needed my parapsychism. So that's why I emphasize my parapsychism, because each body you have to adapt yourself. You have to adapt because your consciousness will manifest through this body. And in the next life, you have to do it again. But that's what I have been trying to do all these years. But nowadays, I'm able to master the situation quite easily, so I don't have much problems with it.
Esse é o segundo DVD ROM.
This is the second Tertulia's DVD with all the audio and video files with entries from June 2009. June 2009. All the Conscienciological Tertulias.
Agora, está bonito esse amarelo aqui. Junho de 2009.
This yellow in the covers are
perguntas ao
beautiful.
vivo nas tertúlias conscienciológicas. Participe
Make
dessa
live
cápsula
questions
do
and
tempo
participate in this time capsule.
Agora, conteúdo,
Now,
arquivo de áudio.
content.
Poxa, mas tão massa aqui
Audio
atrás. Tem
files.
tudo, ó.
It's very interesting here in the
1220, alto esforço convergente.
back cover.
1221, cosmoética formal.
The entry 2021, 2022, with all the titles and the details and the dates.
Vocês ganharam da Adriana. É a primeira vez que eu vejo alguém ganhar de você, tá vendo? Mas nesse mês
you were able to beat her. You beat Adriana, and it was a video that was originally recorded.
Aula 1240, não contei os 35 minutos iniciais.
The class 1240 doesn't have the 36 initial minutes and so on. Those who would like to take a look, please just give it back to me later on. I think this is currently one of the most important products of my life. The time capsule.
Porque isso é ao vivo. O negócio está ali.
Because
a minha
it
careca,
is
já
live.
pensou? Minha careca está brilhante. É brilhante aí.
My bald head is brilliant there, you see?
Waldo, você comentou então a justaposição do objetivo, megafoco,
you have talked about the objective, the matter-full scene, and the mega-strong trait.
Você já falou.
O mais difícil foi o parapsiquismo.
The most difficult one was the parapsychicals.
Eu não sei se para você, se para todo mundo é assim. Para mim foi.
One of the most difficult things for me was that, and I see that Zephyr had been working with that, the assistential parapsychism. Nevertheless, I still had many problems. Still, you can rule out all the problems, all the webs, all the oxidation, all the rust, all the problems, where you go, what people think, the involvement you have, the readings you do, until you can purify everything that comes from outside. It's not easy. But you have also said, Professor, that you talked about the principle of disbelief and these convergence. The biggest convergence is the mega focus. The mega focus within your body. For example, my body, what does it have that I don't master? That's where I started studying sex, masturbation, and so on. But see, 14 years old, it wasn't easy. But now you have a specific work that is the encyclopedia. I already have an idea in that sense because I started having an idea of the encyclopedia when I used to read this Tesouro da Juventude, a Brazilian encyclopedia for children. And it was very important for me to see this Tesouro da Juventude. When I was 5 years old, I used to read, but it was just very little. And I used to see more the illustrations, but when my mother saw that I was able to read, she used to demand more from me. So till 9 years old, I read more things. So I was able to be shoulder to shoulder with adults. I knew lots of things. Okay, you are talking about the parapsíquism. Now about the transmentor. The transmentor has the same thing, the juxtaposition. Well, transmentor has seen me growing up. Now, he sees me as an adult, so he can be straightforward. But no, Waldo, I mean, the mega focus, the matter thought-seen, the mega strong traits and so on. Oh, his is evolutionology and interstitiology. Oh, he had his things just like ours, and I've been following many of his things. But what I'm doing now, he hasn't done. He didn't do something like Conscienciology that would really reach out as far as we're reaching now. But I don't know. I don't know. You can't really put your finger on it, right? But I really trust him. He is a serious British man. He's not mocking me or making jokes. I don't think so. One of these days, you talked about the matter-thought-scenic identity, when the affinity for assistance grows up. Your affinity with the transmentor, what is it? Parapsychic assistentiality, aiming at evolution. This topic, evolution, development of the consciousness, I was born with this idea hammering in my head. Something that came with me. It seems that I framed this as a basic idea, like a password or an innate idea, a matter of evolution. Because if you think about evolution, you will reach out to everyone. As an idea, it works. Everybody should look for that, Waldo. Lush, I can't recommend that to everyone because we are different, but who's not there will get there anyway. There's no way out. I don't see a way out. I don't see a way out from the evolution. I don't see a way out from the parapsíquism. The person will have to take it up, if it's now or later, this place or anywhere else. It doesn't matter. The person will have to take that on board. But when I saw that it was like that, and it was Zephyr who saw that, I started to dedicate myself. But it was before the 17th century. But among the Serenissimuses and the evolutiologists, there are marked differences, of course. For example, us here as pre-Serenissimuses, having lucidity is very relative. The level you manifest is very relative for yourself and for the others. For example, you may have had the ideas that we have been talking about and the transmentor had in the 15th century, but you didn't put that into practice, for example. It was just a matter of imagination, of a dream, or it became just a novel or a poem. But the matter is how to apply it with theory and practice. That's why I say the principle of disbelief brings all down. But if the trend, Waldo, is to go down this road of evolution, parapsíquism, for example, you see, Australino has a different full sanity, but what's the element that distinguishes him from the others? Well, it's his service, for example. I'm a doctor, and you are a psychologist. You are within an area, I am within another one, but the basis is all there. But you, I don't know, for example, in all the different things that I have been doing, I applied this, but now I am within this consciential centering. I am with this consciential centering. You, for example, when you took Apex, you started. That's what Wagner asked me when he was going to manage IAC. He asked me, that's now that my existential program starts, right? And I told him, yes, indeed. Professor, since Loshi evoked Australiano, can I just follow him and talk about the magistics test? Okay, go on. Yes. So, folks, we are just 20 days from the exam and just 1 week from the preparatory workshops for the magistics exam, and both of them need a series of actions or tasks so that they can be carried out. So we need that those who are interested in signing up for the course do sign up as soon as possible, so that we can organize everything. For those who haven't done that yet, the Magistics exam is a challenge in which, facing object, you have to write down 200 relations, 200 associations of ideas related to that object, and it helps a lot so that the person can assess his own memory, associations of ideas, intellectual approach, and a series of aspects that have to do with the new cognitive alphabets that deal with images and scenes and so on. For the preparation of this exam, we are going to have 2 workshops, one of them in partnership with Comunicons, and Professor Waldo and Professor Amaury will be teaching. In March 19th, the workshop of Magistics, Creativity, and the other one on the following day will be a workshop on the qualification and deepening of the Magistics exam. It will be a simulation of the exam. It's a debate only for those who are taking the exam for the second time, and this exam has no prerequisite whatsoever, so those who would like to participate, you could sign up.
Professor, just to complement the questions
quer dizer, o passado de cada consciência dessa, quando chega
num
ato,
you know, what is your audience? It's the cosmos population.
Aí você fica pouco renque.
And then you get minimized related to this target audience. What is the target audience? You or the extraphysicals that come here? Well, for example, we have a Serenismus in China, and another one in Buenos Aires, and another one in the United States. And they all work with energy and use parapsychism. What is the difference among them? And the difference is the application of the process. For example, in Montauk Bay, when they have the Serenissimos, the energy is just impressive. Everybody who goes there knows its code all year over, but you know, in that place they have a lot of hurricanes, and you know, all the catastrophes is secondary, are secondary. The first time I went there, I knew the historical of that region, and I knew about the hurricanes. And at that time,
Você não tenha medo.
They told me not to be afraid of the hurricanes, and we were in a woods hotel. So the wood takes care of it. You know, the building was made of wood, and there were a lot of levels, and there was no hurricane while I was there. The first time I went there was like this. So I walked all over the place, you know, to know all the mountains. They have a very high places, and the energy is just something crazy. I felt like staying in the forest.
Eles já, quer dizer, extrapolaram essa questão toda.
So they have extrapolated already all these issues. You know, their target audience is there. And, for example, if there is an European group getting into the country, in the United States, that's their target audience, and so everything is relative. Professor here, letter C. Thanks.
Duas perguntas.
Two questions.
First, trouxe antes Megatrafor, Mater Pensene e o Megafoco.
Talking about
o Megatrafor seria o
Mega Weak Trait and Mater Pensene,
o Megafoco a expansão da Conscienciologia, ou como seria?
How would
o senhor trouxe isso antes? Você pode
be
ajudar?
explained?
O problema todo assim, você transformar isso tudo numa coisa só.
You have to transform or turn everything in just one thing. You are the Megafocus.
Pensa nisso.
Think about that.
Você é o Megafoco.
You are the Mega Strong Trait. You are the Mater
Eu comecei a
Pensene.
colocar isso na minha cabeça cada vez mais.
I started putting all those things in my head, more and more. In that time, I started also created all these names.
Eu criei a palavra.
Mater Pensene. I created this word. You know, it was not easy.
No seu caso,
I had a lot of work with that.
O que puxa seria o parapsiquismo?
So your mega strong trait would be the parapsychism. Yes, the parapsychism and lucidity. The more lucidity you have, better for you. And the maintenance is the hardest part. You have to keep or maintain your lucidity all the time.
Agora, com isso, a gente
But
erra
by
menos.
doing that, you make
Agora,
less
aí
mistakes.
vem aquele golpe político do círculo social da
And then we have, you know, that sociology problem. By the time that you get right with all those things, you have to become the cloud.
Tudo isso eu já cheguei
Clown.
no tempo. Consciente.
And
outra coisa, às
another
vezes é
thing,
bom você mostrar para a pessoa, não, eu nem errei
for
nisso,
you
aconteceu
to
um
show
negócio, você
your
pegou
mistakes,
ela,
you
né?
have to
Deixa cair a colher.
equalize yourself with the person.
Uma última pergunta. O senhor
The
mencionou
last
pouco a questão
question, you
do
have
exemplo
mentioned
do Wagner. O senhor disse que a
the
Proex
example
iria
of
iniciar quando
Wagner.
ele
Não,
fizesse.
ele veio falar para mim. Na hora que
Wagner
ele
told me
viu
about
que
his
sentiu para tomar conta da
praxis.
Eu acho, o que você acha?
He told me
Que a
that
minha Proex vai começar
he
agora.
thought that his praxis would start by the time that he left the
onde algumas
country.
pessoas chegam
And
do
the
exterior,
opposite.
aterrissam aqui em Foz do Iguaçu, e o senhor menciona isso. Olha, sua Proex
What
vai
about the
iniciar
opposite?
agora.
When
Qual é
people
o
get
diferencial?
here and then
É
you
o
tell these
resgate, é
people
o
that
passado?
Não,
their
ele tinha que se
existential
formar
program
aqui,
has
criar o
just
preparatório dele
started.
para atacar o processo extrativo.
You know,
De vida
Wagner's
às vidas
case
anteriores.
was different. He had to start from
Porque
here
sabe,
and make his
o
base in
processo
order
do
to go out.
autoexemplarismo é a
He knows that.
sustentação das práticas parapedagógicas.
The process
Além dos
of
autoexemplaristas,
parapedagogical
quais outros aspectos
process
agilizar ainda mais o
are
processo do autoexemplarismo pela opção da correção. Olha, eu acho o seguinte, o
self-exemplification,
autoexemplo
the
fala
self
tudo, né?
exemplification tells everything about you. It involves everything about you, and all the relations and repercussions come from this point. So clarification test works from this condition. I am 25, I live in São Paulo, and I attend a remote course. And the time that I use for that is bigger. How can I conciliate my studies with that for the self-evolution condition? Yes, you have to organize and discipline yourself. With evolution and advance of technology, should I sleep 8 hours? It depends on the person. I don't sleep for 8 hours for over 40 years. And related to natural selection, is there an adaptation of our soma? It depends on your self-organization. You know that the consolation task is requested mainly here in Brazil. And I don't know how to act facing all the requests that people used to do. What is the assistation behavior that I should have? Well, we have an example in the past. I used to live in São Paulo, and I had a lot of requests. On the street, I used to buy packs of beans and rice. And I used to put those packs in my car. And by the time that people started asking me for things, I just, gave this food. So, if the guy was, exchanging the food for alcoholic drinks, it was not my problem. There was a time that it was just a matter of stopping the car that there was someone outside asking for something. It was after Uberaba, and the basic things were rice and beans and pasta, spaghetti, the packs of spaghetti.
O estado vibracional é uma técnica ou um fenômeno que interage com a nossa parapsicologia. Quando ocorrem os EVs instantâneos, é amparo ou tem mais parapsíquicos?
Vibrational states, are they
estado vibracional é só o início
from the helper
processo complexo e amplo que pode acontecer uma série de
state is just the beginning of a process.
A pessoa e o local e o ambiente.
It varies from the person to person. Would you like to say something? You said that when you were 14,
muitas pessoas passam a vida toda
you
sem identificar.
defined your
Eu queria te perguntar o seguinte, qual
megafocus.
era a tua postura, comportamento
was your posture
infância e entrada da adolescência
during your adolescence
levando a
that
culminar nisso?
led you to this condition of deciding that I started having positive heterocognitions
aos 3 anos
when I was 3 years
Agora,
old.
isso tudo foi porque eu tive processo de amadurecimento das coisas mais cedo que a média.
I was
a minha cabeça rachou
precocious.
quando eu
I had a maturity before the right
total com o meu processo, da maturidade.
Maturity was something that happened with me very
Teve
early.
uma relação estupenda,
And it was related to
predominante
this.
nessa questão. Agora, a minha mãe então começou a ver aquilo,
My mother saw that,
professora,
and she was
a
a
gente só
teacher,
entrava no grupo com 7 anos.
and we
Eu
were
já
just
tinha 4
supposed to
anos,
get
ela começou,
into
me
the
ensinou a ler e
group, the
escrever.
scholar
Eu
group,
comecei a ser
with
epistorógrafo. Eu
7
fazia as
years
cartas
old.
lá em casa.
Você aprendeu a ler com 4?
And
4 anos. 4
I
a 5
learned
anos. Eu tinha 4
how
anos e meio.
to read when I
Foi
was
em
4.
1936.
It was in
Agora, o que é
1936.
engraçado é o seguinte, é que
And
A minha mãe, com isso,
my mother,
ela já lecionava
with
há
this
muito
situation,
tempo,
she used to teach for a long
e o curso
time
primário
that
era
time.
arrochado, pesado,
And
forte,
it
intenso.
was a very
Ela
nice
conhecia muita
school.
gente. Ela viu que
And
esse menino vai
she
longe. Pela
met
situação
a
que
lot
ele
of
gosta de
people,
estudar.
and she
Então,
could
vamos...
perceive that I was
Agora,
good.
o pior, isso ampliou enquanto eu estive em Monte Carmelo até os 12 anos.
And until I was
A hora
in
que
Monte
ele
Carmelo,
chega pra
I
mim,
was
manda eu escolher um
12.
instrumento musical
Everything
para eu
was
tocar. Eu
amplified
falei que eu não
because
queria
of
tocar
my mother.
instrumento de nada, que eu já tinha feito
And
isso em
they
vidas anteriores.
told me
O meu
to
processo era
play an
estudar piano.
instrument, and then I said, no, I don't want to play
Isso é
any
uma
instrument. I was,
criança
I
lá.
was
Aí eles falam assim, não,
in a
isso aí
mental
deve ser porque esse menino
soma
tem senso
process.
de musicalidade. Aí chamaram o
And
vovô
they
Felipe
called
foi lá e foi
my
fazer exame comigo.
grandfather, and
Falei assim,
he
olha,
was
ele tem mais
examining
senso de
me.
musicalidade que a média de vocês aqui
And
dentro.
he told
Ninguém
everybody
tem
that I
senso.
was
Ele
a
não
very
quer
good
que tenha alguma
sense
coisa.
of
Foi lá e falar com meu pai. Então meu pai
musicality.
chamou a minha mãe, Aristina, põe esse menino em dia. Põe tudo. Ele acha que tem que cuidar da cabeça, mete livro na cabeça dele, põe a biblioteca dentro da cabeça dele. E acabou. Ele não quer tocar música, ok. Então ele vai estudar. Ele tem que saber mais do que todo mundo aqui. E eu menino. Aquilo foi aí que eu comecei a estudar o processo lá do
more than
tesouro
the
da
other
juventude.
guys, and I
Fui
started
ver
to study the
praticamente
Tesouro of
as bibliotecas principais que havia
And
em
I
Monte
also
Carmelo
saw
até
the
os 10
main
Agora, aos
libraries in
10
Monte
anos,
Carmelo.
eu faço o curso primário,
When I was 10 and I was
anos,
in the
e
primary
eles, então,
school,
falam assim, esse menino não
and
pode
then I
ficar
finished
sem nada.
that.
Nós não temos dinheiro para ele ir embora.
And
Ele tem que sair daqui para
we
estudar
didn't
fora,
have
aqui não tem nada.
money
Isso aqui veio
to
para
get
cá,
out
morre o
of the
pensamento.
city.
Tem que dar um jeito. E o meu pai falava, é igual português. Escrever
So
português,
my parents
pensamento
were
morre.
really
Naquela ocasião era
concerned
assim
about
mesmo.
that.
Nada ia para frente com o português. O negócio do Brasil era terrível. Isso é 1930,
It
40.
was
Então,
in
o que é que se passa?
19
A partir daquilo,
1930s.
eles falaram assim, quem é que é o professor bom que tem aqui?
And so my
Eu
parents
vi eles
were
fazendo essa
were
tentativa
looking
tudo à minha
for
frente.
the best
Esse menino
teacher for
precisa ter um
me.
professor que fica
They
em cima dele. Quem é o
Said
cara
that
que
I
usa
was
ainda
supposed to have
a
classes with the
palmatória?
best
Falei
one.
assim, não, tem um aqui que não usa, mas ele é o melhor que tem. É o
So they
professor
told
Vicente
me, my
Lopes.
parents,
Então,
that
Aristina, vai lá
there
e fala com o
was
professor
a
Vicente.
guy
Se quiser, vem cá falar
called
comigo, que eu vou falar com ele. O que ele tem que
Professor
fazer com esse meu filho?
Vicent.
Assim, ó, tudo apertando. Veja bem, minha mãe para um lado, meu pai para o outro.
So
E
I
eu não
had
entendia nada daquilo, mas
this
achava bom.
pressure from my
Quer
parents.
dizer, eu perguntei para minha mãe, quer dizer que eu vou ter a opção de livro para ler? Vai.
And then I was like asking my mother, so I'm going to have a lot of books to read.
E o estudo te
So the
ajudou a
reading
Não, e outra
and
coisa, eu era
studying
epistológrafo. Foi a
helped
primeira vez
you
eu
to
me
get
vi
your
aprender
mega
essa
focus.
palavra, epistológrafo. Quer dizer,
Yes,
o cara
I was,
faz missiva. Missiva
I used
é
to
a
write
carta.
letters.
Não é intermissiva, não, missiva. Missiva quer dizer carta.
This,
Eu aprendi isso tudo menino.
I was
Então eu
very
fazia
young
as
when I
cartas.
learned
Aí a minha
to
mãe foi
write
me ensinar
letters.
o que era fazer charada,
So my mother
enigma
taught me
e
to
carta enigmática.
make
As cartas enigmáticas a gente
enigmas.
ganhava prêmio. Então, lá pelas tantas, depois de alguns meses, abriu para mim
Enigmatic
você é
letters.
melhor na carta enigmática do que eu.
So I was the best
Doravante,
one
é só
in that
você que vai
modality.
decifrar todos os nossos processos.
So you
Aí eu
have,
comecei.
they told me you
Então, o
have
negócio não era
to
fácil. Lá em
analyze
casa,
our
meu pai tinha um
process.
seguro da Sul-América.
My father had
A
a
Sul-América
Sul-American
publicava uma
insurance,
revista
and
chamada
they used to publish
Sul-América,
a
uma
magazine which
Aquele
were
vinha de quando em quando.
was called
Mas
Sul
o
America.
anual é que era a coisa mais séria.
And that
que
was
vinha a
very
revista mesmo
good.
propriamente dita no fim do ano.
So at
E no
the
fim
end
do
of
ano,
the
então,
year, they
vinha
had
sorteio
a
na revista,
special
que
issue.
tinha aquela série de dezenas de
There was a
frases
lottery in this
que
issue
estavam no contexto da revista.
with,
E a pessoa precisa de ver
you
qual a
know,
frase,
dozens
qual a
of those
página de cada
sentences.
frase. Quem mandasse
sentences were in the
as
pages,
primeiras
and the one
respostas que
who
tinham
got the
ganhava um monte
first
de livro.
answers could get a
Eu
lot of
aqui
books.
ganhava todos.
And I was the
Mandava
winner at that time.
Mandava até no nome de outras pessoas. Todo mundo ganhava aquele monte de livro. Todo ano a gente ficava esperando. Como é que é? Quando é que ia? Eu ia lá
all
no
the
seu
year,
Armínio,
we
que era o seu
were
Armínio
waiting
que
for that
dirigia os
time.
Correios. O senhor Armínio viu que eu mexia tanto
There
com
was
o
a
correio, quis me dar uma
guy
caixa
that,
postal.
you know,
Foram falar lá em casa.
who
a minha mãe
wanted
falou,
to
não, mas
give
ele é um
me
menino,
a
não é bom
P.O.
fazer uma
box.
caixa postal para menino. Isso aí não
and
tá
it was
certo.
not useful for
Aí
young
o senhor Armínio,
boys.
mas esse menino é um homem.
And
Ele
the
já
guy
tá
used
fazendo
to
as
say,
coisas,
but
ele
this,
mexe mais no correio
this
do que eu
boy is a man.
em Monte Carmelo. Mas não deixaram eu fazer, não tive a caixa postal.
I didn't have this PO box because they didn't allow me.
Naquela cidade, mexendo com aquilo.
You know, I was in that city dealing with all those things.
São os nossos comerciais, por favor.
Okay.
Obrigado. As pontuações de
our
hoje.
Advertisements.
156 assinaturas
Today we have
no livro de presença, 19 perguntas presenciais, 29 perguntas online, 46 votos presenciais e 2 votos online. Hoje teremos os recados do Leandro sobre os DVDs das Tertúlias, o Tiago sobre palestra da Assinvex e a Eliane sobre o aniversário da ONG Vida Animal. Antes com vocês, a Eliana Manfroy sobre o recado do Amigos da Enciclopédia.
And first we have the Encyclopedia Friends
o programa Amigos da Enciclopédia realiza
this program
mensais de vários
has a monthly lottery for those who are subscribed. We are going to
foi graciosamente doado pela nossa colega
raffle this netbook.
É um netbook praticamente novo.
It's practically new,
menos de ano. Então,
with less than 1 year of use.
Nosso trabalho. Também vamos sortear
We are
also Conscienciologia do LPC e também um livro onde a religião terrena do professor Marcelo da Luz. Participam todos os amigos que estão em dia com a sua associação.
For all those who are subscribed in this program. Thank you.
Pessoal, eu queria só dar mais uns detalhes do DVD novo, das Tertúlias que a gente está lançando. Esse é o segundo que a gente está lançando de junho de 2009. Ele contém boa parte dos arquivos que não foram disponibilizados para download na época dessas Tertúlias dessas aulas. Tá? Ele está vendo por R$25 na livraria Epígrafe ou no site www.shopcons.com.br. Para Amigos da Enciclopédia, ele está saindo a R$20 só na livraria.
Obrigado.
Boa tarde a todos. Gostaria de convidá-los para participar daqui a 40 minutos da palestra online.
We have in 40 minutes an online lecture related to Leonardo da Vinci and
pode acessar a sala virtual no site da Assinvex, que é www.assinvex.org.
www.assinvex.org.
Pessoal, boa tarde. Eu estou aqui em nome de alguns aniversariantes do mês de março. São eles a Roberta Buxavier, eu, Marguê Vasconcelos, o Marcos Dung e a Adriana Rocha. Nós estamos promovendo um aniversário comunitário pró-ONG Vida Animal, que vai ser hoje, domingo, às 19 horas, no restaurante chinês Okila. Esse restaurante é muito bom, eu conheci inclusive os bastidores do restaurante, a cozinha, é muito limpo, organizado, vocês podem
very clean and organized. You can trust in this team, and they are very
serious. Então, hoje às 19 horas,
today,
10% do valor arrecadado nesse jantar vai ser doado para a ONG Vida Animal. E é uma oportunidade de vocês também conhecerem o trabalho da ONG. E se quiserem levar presentinhos apenas para os cachorros e gatos, tá ok? Pode ser ração, pode ser outras coisas úteis para os animais. Então, esperamos vocês lá com um delicioso bolo de chocolate com morangos para ser servido depois do jantar, tá?
Chocolate and strawberry cake for you.
Para amanhã, foi eleito o verbete
Directrix
com 13 votos, a especialidade Autoevoluciologia. Obrigado pela presença de todos e até amanhã.